The following clip is presented to you by The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, available every Friday wherever you get your podcasts and at extremehardy.com. He returns on the August 27th episode of Raw, defeating Mr. Kennedy by disqualification after Umaga interferes in the following week on September 3rd. Jeff Hardy does it again. He becomes Intercontinental Champion by defeating Umaga. Let's talk about Umaga here quickly. We brought him up briefly in the past on the podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like Umaga could have been a major player, like Hall of Fame caliber player in WWE. Had unfortunately his health held up. Ultimately, we lost him way too soon. What can you share with us about Umaga, the kind of guy he was and the kind of worker that he was?
I mean, he was great. We all ran like in the same circle of friends, and him and Jeff were like they were like best friends. I mean, they loved working together. He would come to Jeff's house. I remember we've got some great pictures of my dad and Umaga and Jeff together when he was there. He actually wanted to come to Jeff's house and like ride his racetrack. You know, it's pretty famously known that Jeff has a motocross track on his land, and Umaga would come there and ride motorcycles with Jeff, which is so crazy to think about. But he was a great guy, a real sweetheart, but also a legitimate badass as well. A guy who could really like kick your ass if he had to, had to get down to it. But he was an amazing worker. He was so good for his size, and I really do feel like he could have been a massive draw in pro wrestling and a massive top guy if he would have been able to keep everything between the lines and stay healthy.
What was so remarkable about him is that he had this very 1990s gimmicky character, this Samoan bulldozer, destroyer, Umaga, yeah. But he got over in a big way in spite of that in that era. From a working standpoint, what was he like in the ring today?
He was incredible. I mean, we loved working with him because he on house shows too. Like he would know how to do an entertaining match where you'd be smart and work smart. So that was super enjoyable. And then like, man, if you were having a pay-per-view, I mean, he'd go. Like he was huge. He could move. He was underrated as a worker. I mean, I think now people look back on him, and realize how much they miss Umaga and the amazing things he was doing. He was so quick and so explosive, especially for a guy of his size and his strength. It was great working him. It was always a pleasure to like walk in and see your name across from his.